Astro Pet, aka Mr. MetaMaid, and we got our MetaMaid exclusive and collective message for Aries rising. These kids won't stay off my board to save my life. Alright. So let's put that there. And Aries rising. What's good with y'all, man? Let's talk about the landscape, what it looks like right now for Aries rising. Shout out to those of y'all that are on TikTok. Shout out to those of y'all that are on Instagram, and especially those of y'all that are on Patreon. Board the mothership at P.A.T Academy of Astrology. All right, don't forget, those of y'all looking to get in astrology school, we are going back to school just like the other kids are. We're going back to school soon, next month. All right, excuse me. And so don't miss out. But even right now, there's tons of videos on there now, almost 3 dozen videos of foundational information on astrology. Aries rising. Let's talk about your first house, all right? Where Aries here, Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron in your first house of appearance, all right? So it will definitely affect the appearance somehow. And it can affect the appearance physically and, metaphysically. Now, physically, it can affect appearance as with Saturn and Aries, we may see a lot of people start wearing hats, all right? And for some of y'all, it may be a thing where you used to do when you were younger, or it may be a thing that you may even do when older. A lot of guys wear hats, especially if they start to thin or start to bald, they, put the cap on or whatever like that. But for even some of you ladies, you may start wearing hats, all right? Because Saturn and Aries can represent the accessory of hats. All right. Now with Neptune retrograde, it can make you could do something to make your appearance more mysterious. All right. You could start wearing a certain lipstick. You could start wearing a certain genre of clothing. All right. Style or fashion of clothing. And it could even possibly be nostalgic. You could be somebody that could be like, man, you know what? I am sick of this new ish out here now. It is ridiculous. It's too much. It's overpriced. They get down. I'd rather just go and find the nostalgic stuff that I used to wear that I know worked for me. Maybe accessorize it, make it, spliff or make it cute or whatever, and then roll out like that. And a lot of people are even making their own clothing right now. I've been seeing. So with Neptune retrograde, it could represent that artistic influence on appearance, where some people are even making their own clothing, or some people are just piecing it together or getting it from somewhere, and could even be going back to nostalgic looks and fashion trends. All right. Now with Chiron here in the first house, this could really muddy up your actual obligations of appearance. Saturn represents obligation. Chiron represents wounds. First house represents appearances. It represents accountability. All right. So when you're talking about appearances, especially like dental appearances right now, it's really time to put that bulletin out there about the dental. All right. Saturn is retrograde now. Dental appointments not as favorable right now. If you're getting an emergency operation, I would suggest you not do it while Moon is in Capricorn or in Cancer, or on a Monday. All right, if you just have to get it done, really, really try to avoid those Monday, Moon in Capricorn or Moon in Cancer transit to do a dental surgery. Excuse my cat right now. I got her kind of booted out right now, but she's very codependent. All right, now Chiron in the first house, it can muddy up other appearances as well. All right, like dates. All right, that some of you all may have. All right, concerts, trips, vacations, different things like that. A lot of people vacations and travel plans affected by the recent floods, like all over. I can't even just pick one place that's been flooding, because it's been flooding in almost 2 dozen different places, over the last, 2 to 3 weeks. All right. So that definitely has affected hundreds and thousands of people, travel plans. All right. And when, now Neptune retrograde, and every time Neptune retrogrades, there's bound to be like some type of water related type of, one disaster or some type of water related even event. All right. And, rest in peace to our dear brother Malcolm Jamal Walker. That is another water related event, water related tragedy, water related disaster. All right. And then, talking about the floods, that's another water related disaster. Hundreds of deaths reported, thousands and millions of dollars in property damage reported. All right. People still missing. not reported. All right, Neptune retrograde. So also, and as I'm talking about appearances, you parents, you want to watch over your kids right now, not just letting them go, too far, like letting some of your kids go out of town, and live with people, right now. It's not really the most favorable for that right now. All right, and if they are out of town, you may want to start trying to reel them back anyway. You may be reeling them back anyway for school. All right, but even if they are, even with other stuff, it could really be tricky right now. You know what I'm saying? Like with Neptune retrograde, or just around the neighborhood. Like if your kid just goes out in the neighborhood and like, oh, we've been over here for so and so, and they just out and out. It could be really kind of risky right now. Kidnappings can be heightened right now, and I believe they just found like a truck full of children. Uh, I believe it was in maybe Mexico or whatnot, or it was crossing over into Mexico, or it just came from Mexico. It was something like that. But it's a lot of that going on right now. Trafficking, attempted kidnappings, missing, people coming up missing, that sort of thing like that. All right. So with Neptune retrograde, you really want to watch out for disappearances. Want to watch out for disappearances right now. All right. Especially if you got, children, or if you got children ages, 11 to 17 years old. All right. And they go out, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, try to make sure you keep in contact with them. You got trackers on the phone, that type of stuff is great. You got the family phone trackers and stuff like that. You can locate, okay, I see those, like really, those are really like top notch. Like if you got one of those right now, you're like really top notch on that parental level and parental awareness, because it's a lot of stuff going on with this Neptune retrograde. I really can't even talk about it enough right now, just because the video and stuff like that. But third house, let's talk about the third house. And with this Uranus in here and Venus in here now, everything from Chat GPT to ATM fraud, getting credit card numbers off the getting your ATM cards off of skimmers. They're putting skimmers on the ATM cards, so you want to be careful with that at this time. Really just grab the face and make sure it doesn't come off. If it comes off, no deal, you're busted. Basically, you busted them. But if it doesn't come off, and you make sure, okay, cool, because what they're doing now, and then really give it a nice tug. Like, don't try to destroy it, but just like give it a nice little tug, just to make sure, because sometimes they put those skimmers in there, and they put them in there, they could put them in there nice and tight, and then hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people are coming in there, and then they come and yank it off at the end of the night, middle of the night, 18 hours later, 16 hours later, however, and that's how they have so many, you ever wonder, like, how they get so many people's card, that's one way they get so many people's card numbers at one time. And then also the apps, all right, they're breaking into the apps, the cyber ware and stuff like that, cyber hacking, all right, can be going on. Uranus just got out of Taurus, and with it in the third house, Gemini, hacking can continue, unfortunately. So you want to watch your swiping of the cards, where you're swiping them at. Even places like Dollar General right now, Family Dollar, those type of places. You want to really watch those scammers. And really, honestly, I don't really recommend using cards right now at those places. Like, Gemini represents local. All right? It represents local. So your local dollar store right now, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, those type of places, I would try to go in there with cash, or I would try to go in there with a card that's, with a set of like a preloaded, card. I wouldn't try to go in there with a card that's hooked up to my checking account. I wouldn't go in there with a card that's hooked up to my bank account. I wouldn't go in there with a card that's hooked up to, a savings or an investment, or, something, any other money that could be added onto, or that could be accessed, because right now, though, that hacking is going on with the skimmers, and some people are even doing it in these retail stores. All right, it's not just the ATM. Some people are doing it at the retail store. They set the hacker right there, and just watching people come by, watching people come by, watching people come by, and then at the end of the night, they just act like they cleaning it or something like that. Get the cloth, wipe it off, and then yank the whole thing off. Put the thing, you just don't know. So you just want to be safe. All right. Local hacking can be done right now. All right, watching your local's hotspots is where the hacking can happen. I know you may think it can happen on Amazon. I know you may think it can happen on I know you may think it can happen on Temu. I know you may think it can happen on these other sites, but it can really happen at McDonald's. It can really happen at Taco Bell. It could really happen at Dollar Tree. It could really happen at Family Dollar. At these local places where you're swiping your card, and you may have swiped your card before. Some people may even know, because of how much you go in there, or how much you spend, or how you look when you go in there. They may know how much money you got. They may know if they could rip you off or not. You see what I'm saying? So really just try to be mindful of that. With Gemini, third house, and you got Uranus and Venus there, all right? And it's really so much because of the Uranus, but really because of the Venus and the Uranus, the ripping off and the scamming and stuff like that can really, 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 really be hyped right now, and people really, 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 really looking to get down right now at the local hotspots. Because what did I say? Gemini represents local proximity. All right, so be mindful of that. Now, also Gemini represents thoughts. All right, and here this can represent with Venus and Uranus in the third house. When I see that, I can tell somebody may deal with some invasive thoughts here. All right, you want to be mindful of that. Now, the invasive thoughts, they may not all be like haunting or daunting, because when we typically think about invasive thoughts, we typically think about like fear, invoking stuff, or but no, it could be good. Like for instance, you're sitting there, studying, and then sex comes in, and come on, we done all been there. We done all been there. We know god dang on well we shouldn't be thinking about nothing. You know what I'm saying? But what's in the classroom, what's being taught in the classroom, the orientation that we at, wherever we sitting at, the line, whatever, and invasive thought come in. And yeah, it ain't scary. It feels good, but it's invasive. Like it has its proper time. Like no, you get what I'm saying? So be mindful of that right now with third house Gemini. And then Gemini actually is a significator of romance. It's a significator of like hot, steamy, like comet type of romances. All right, so those comet type of romances, they could go up and then they go down. But going up, it feels real great, and it could really give way to those thoughts, especially if you just had an escapade earlier that morning, later on that previous night, and then the next day, invasive thought come in. You're like, whoo, now, that's what y'all talking about. Y'all, you getting the hot flashes, and that's an invasive thought. Is it the proper time where you can actually facilitate that? No, you at the light, you in orientation, you at work. It's an invasive thought. It's not the end of the world, but it's invasive. All right. So really watch for that right now. All right. And then also interruptions. All right. If you're somebody that doesn't like being interrupted, like how my cat, tried to interrupt me just a minute ago, you want to be mindful of this right now, because you could be interrupted a lot. You could be interrupted in communication. You could be interrupted in phone calls. You could be interrupted in romance or sex even. All right. You could be interrupted in work. All right. So you want to be mindful of that right now with this aspect, all right? I don't know if Venus moved off of that degree in Mercury or not, but they definitely crossed over 22nd degree, Mercury crossing over the 13th degree. All right, Jupiter in Cancer, exalted in the fourth house, it would definitely bring some sense of achievement, all right? You would want to achieve. You would feel like, all right, man, I've been down for this is my moment, man. Forget that, ain't nothing. And it's like, yes, that's good. Let's get it. All right. But you don't want to get too cocky. You don't want to go in unprepared. You don't want to go in, premature. Because looking at the sign of Capricorn, it can represent some, delays. It could represent some restrictions. It could represent some limitations that you will be met with. And it could definitely pertain to areas of education. It could definitely pertain to areas of children. All right. And for some of you all, especially with this fifth house transit that's going on too. Whew. All right, Sun, Moon, Mercury retrograde. Yeah, some of y'all just got pregnant. All right, some of y'all just got pregnant, and I'm not even trying to scare nobody. It just is what it is. All right, some of y'all even got children already. What's so scary? It's a beautiful thing. Congratulations, And and if it's a thing where you didn't plan it, hey, it's not the end of the world. But nevertheless, some of you are, if you make it out of the month of July not pregnant, you really should, really be thankful, because this is a baby making transit right here. This is not the transit of rota. This is not the transit to just, be like, okay, yeah, come on. No, you really want to make sure, because it will happen. It will happen. It will happen. You will welcome a child in. A child will emerge from your bosom during this transit. Do you understand? All right. Yes, it's looking at Capricorn. So even if you do get pregnant, the restriction won't be you not getting pregnant. Now the restriction will be on the actual baby. All right. So that means the baby could be born with a restriction, could have some restrictions. And Capricorn represents the bones. It represents the density of bones. It represents the formation of bones. All right. It represents the joints of bones. All right. Now, also, like I said, education. Some of you all may have tried to get off your feet with a certification, may have tried to get your foot into a certain qualification or qualified field, and it's just been seeming like obstacle after obstacle, obstacle, obstacle. All right. And you could just be like, man, this is insane. Like, I went to the orientation, I took this, I took that, went to the class. They talking about 2 weeks, go to the 2 weeks, it get pushed back. Now you got to go double back and take care of some stuff while that's getting taken care of, and then it holds you up. And now while you trying to get back to the, your alignment, something else happened along the way, but you trying to knock that down real quick, take care of that real quick, stay on course. And it just seemed like another one pop up before you get done with that one. And you're like, what in the world is going on? This is insane. Wait a goddamn minute. But Jupiter, looking at the sign of Capricorn, it represents karma and it represents karmic lessons. And some of you all may be dealing with karmic lessons right now, centered around achievement, centered around methods of achievement, methods of execution. So yes, you may be able to execute, but you may be redirected at this time. You may not be able to execute the way you used to execute. And especially as it pertains to Jupiter, you may be a person that relied on luck a lot and opportune moments. All right. Just, really, you could have been putting forward more, but you knew that the opportune time was come. So you just really didn't do anything until the opportune time come, and then just leap. And universe is like, time up. Because you're getting older now. All right. And you got to get wiser. And you can't just be relying on either sheer luck, sheer grit, sheer will, sheer anything. All right. Just shred the sheer. Shred the sheer is what Jupiter is saying to some of you all, especially some of the young bucks out there, that may be watching this, 21, 20, 24. You see what I'm saying? 27. Shred the sheer. Yes, you've been able to get off sheer grit, sheer willpower, sheer resilience, sheer ambition. But making you wiser, I can't do that just allowing you to keep going off of sheer. So now what happens is, now you have to go off of wisdom. And you say, okay, well, what is wisdom? Many people will have different definitions of wisdom, because there are different spectrums of wisdom. But I heard one wise man say that wisdom can be known as the application of knowledge. All right. So if you want to look at it that way, you become wiser when you start to apply what you know. But first you have to know what to apply. So when it's time to apply, you'll know what it is to apply. All right. So now you're in the process of knowing what to apply, not applying. But some of you you're trying to apply, and Jupiter's like, no, whoa. All right. Because all that's going to do is bring about some premature obstacles here in your 10th house of achievement. All right. And you don't want to do that. All right. You don't want to sabotage yourself. And then Jupiter in the 4th house, you want to be mindful, especially those of you all in your Jupiter return. You definitely will. You definitely will learn some new things during this transit. All right. And basically the more open-minded you are, and the more open-hearted you are to talking to people, dealing with different people, different aspects and whatnot, this could be an opportune time for you. But if you're somebody that's really culturally thick, all right, and what I mean by culturally thick is like somebody that's just like really not trying to deal with nobody outside of outside of their tribe and whatnot. And it's cool. But if you're on your Jupiter return, it could really it can maybe kind of hinder things, and you possibly could miss out on an opportune time or moment of opportunity. All right. Jupiter represents expansion, luck, and expansion. All right. And with it looking at that 10th house, making that opposition, some of you all could even be dealing with career oppositions right now. All right. Like I said, the certifications may not be, doing what they're doing, or you may not be able to get into them right now. Government right now is cutting a lot of resources as we speak. All right. Week by week, they're cutting resources. All right. So with the Jupiter in Capricorn, all right, you want to be mindful of, government entities. Some of y'all may keep up with politics right now. You may develop an interest in politics right now during this transit. All right, or law. All right. All right, guys, that is it for part 1. All right, and stay tuned for the full version that will go on Patreon. All right, at P.A.T Academy on Patreon. All right, don't forget to tap in at the mothership there, and then also Facebook group that is also named Astro AP Academy Facebook group as well. All right, I want to thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for your rising sign and more with P.A.T Metaphysics, practical, powerful, tangible. Namaste.